That would be great. I think.
Nothing ever changed, always late in boxing conferences. I'm just waiting for one. Obviously, we're just waiting for one of the young fighters to come. But just before we start, obviously, there's a lot of personal thank yous I'd like to say on this incredible journey. My daughters, my management team, my lawyer Neil, obviously my mother, the boxing fraternity, Tom Gilmore, who's been very supportive, and the young fighter I'm going to sign with him today. Brian, a trainer who I've worked with in the past. Gary, given me the opportunity to work with him in the heavyweight division, which I really like. And Channel 5 have announced today that they've followed me around since September, and the documentary is coming out, I'm not sure when. It's called Frankly Kelly, No Going Back. It was completed on Saturday. Oh, here we go. This one. You've got to come around this one. So that's it up to now, and now that obviously I feel sort of complete in myself and happy with myself, the one thing that was missing in my life was something that I really enjoyed, and that was my love for boxing. And I really had no intentions of coming back to boxing, if I'm honest. But this young man and his trainer and a very good family friend over there kept texting me and sending me messages saying, Kelly, we've got a young fighter that wants to go into boxing and wants to be managed by you. And I kept saying no, and then out of the blue, the three of them turned up on my doorstep one Sunday morning. They came in, we sat and we spoke for ages, and eventually young Tony Jones, age 23, made me make that commitment that I would come back to boxing. First I checked his record out to make sure that he had potential, because you know, I just don't want to come back and, because to me, I have been sort of, if I put it in football terms, I've been the manager of Manchester United, and now I'm going to start managing Nuneaton Borough, so I've got to start down the bottom again, and there's no getting away from that. So the opportunity and the personal challenge for me is very big, and I made a commitment to young Tony, who will speak and tell you about himself in a minute. He is related to the famous Colin Jones. That's his second cousin, isn't it? It's his second cousin, so, and I've watched videos of him. He's got a great left hook, just the same as Colin Jones. And we'll move forward, and he'll make his pro debut, which I will let Tommy talk about in a minute. And then when I told Tommy I was going to come back into boxing, he said, well, you started working with me with Gary Cornish. He said, a heavyweight, your favourite weight? And I said, yeah, but I haven't got any TV at the moment. He went, don't worry about that. With the knowledge you've got, and it'd be great fun, he said, to work again. And eventually talked me into it, and we spoke to Gary, and Gary, who has appeared on a couple of my shows because he was working with me in the early days. So I think you appeared on about 2 or 3 shows, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's undefeated in 20 fights. And then I looked at the possibilities, thinking, what's out there? The old promoter's brain came back into action, and I looked at the possibilities. Well, there's a fight out there with Anthony Joshua. There's a fight out there with David Price, which would be of great interest. Do I think Gary could win both those fights? And I think the answer is yes, if it's done right. But then I thought to myself, the way boxing is now, I looked at it, fighters are being pushed too quick. None of them are getting the chance to develop their career, and none of them are learning the way I was brought up to teach fighters and the way Tommy was brought up to teach fighters. So I'm going to really go back to the real basics again and start at the very beginning. Nurturing Tony's career, obviously with Tommy moving Gary's career direct. Is the pricey fight and the Joshua, sorry, shows how much I've been following. And Joshua, is it really of great interest? It is, but it's not important. More important is to deliver to Scotland its first British heavyweight champion, its first European champion, and hopefully at the end of the line, a guy that can fight for the world title, but is properly prepared to fight for the world title. Not just moved along because it suits TV and suits the promoter's pockets. How are we going to do this? If we have to do it without TV, we will. I do have great financial backing in the help of the person that sponsored all my shows before, Tommy Pratt, Southwick Metals, who is on his way here at the moment. So there is no problem, and I've had a couple of production teams approach me about doing a documentary about coming back into boxing and developing his fighter's career. So it's really, there's a lot of interest, and looking at today, you would think this is a world title press conference. You know, I've not seen so many old and new faces for such a long time. So I look forward to building our relationship up again together and moving forward. So with that, I will let Tony speak first. Say what you like. Tell them what you like. Tell them about yourself, what you've done as an amateur.
I don't know where to start, man. I was speechless.
He's nervous because he became a dad on Monday as well.
Yeah.
Your baby daughter. All right, Tony's had 35 amateur fights. He's won 24 of them. He lost in the ABA semi-finals to Khan's brother on points. His last fight was 22 months ago, where he had a win. He knocked out a national champion.
No, my last fight was end of last year.
End of last year.
Yeah.
And he hasn't fought since because his style is more suited to the pro ranks. You know, there is a touch of the Colin Jones in him with that left hook, so it's going to be very interesting. And he's going to make his debut, which Tommy will tell you about. And that's where we are, so it's a really interesting fight. Gary has had 20 fights and won all 20. And I think he could step in the ring tomorrow. We actually got a phone call last night saying, would he like to fight David Price in June? Well, the answer to that is no, because, you know, when he goes in, he's going in there to win the fight, to be ready to it. Because that's very important to me to be successful in coming back. And I think it's a bigger challenge for me now, being female, than it was as a male. So I've got to make sure everything's right, and the fighters are prepared 100% for this moment. Brian, do you want to say anything?
Just obviously, I boxed myself in the 1990s. I've known Kellie Maloney since that time. I've boxed on a lot of their promotions. I actually boxed Paul England on one of the promotions. And being an away fighter, you know, they looked after very good by the promoter. Kellie looked after me tremendously, and I had no doubts in getting Tony to turn professional with Kellie. I spoke to Kellie to say we turned up at the house, forced her into doing it, to be fair. And obviously, I know, Kelly's got 30 years experience plus as a promoter and a manager. And I've got no doubt in my mind if I prefer Tony's good enough. And Kelly does her job. He's very capable of winning something.
Yeah, well, the young boy here, he's going to make his pro debut on my son's show on the 23rd of May at the Bellhudson Sports Centre in Glasgow. It'll be top to bill by Gary. Gary will be fighting for the IBO International Heavyweight title against Zoltan Shara from Hungary. It's a big step for Gary because it will allow him to step into the top 50 in the world if he wins the fight. That's quite a step. Gary's background really, he's 9 amateur fights which he won them all, but because of his size and because we've never produced any heavyweights in Scotland. In the history of boxing, there has been no heavyweight ever boxed for the British title. The nearest that ever happened was Ken Shaw in 1949 when he boxed against Freddie Mills. So that's the nearest Scotland has ever got to a heavyweight. We've had Cowboy McCormick, Chick Calderwood at light heavyweight, but never a heavyweight. So Gary was always a journey. So after he had the nine fights, and because of his inexperience, we were allowed to bring him along at the pace that I believe was correct for him. In and out of television, and he boxed in some Frank Maloney shows, and in the future he boxed in Kellie Maloney shows, and we've been very successful. So he's had 9 amateurs, 20 pro fights, won them all. You know, 6'7", 17.5 stone. So he's a big guy, the Highlander. What?
18 stone.
18 stone, oh, yeah. Diet next week. So you can see he's a growing boy, as we would say, back home. So we think that the time is now right. He's been pro for 4 years. He's done everything that's been asked of him. We can only create the opportunities, give him the opportunity. And as Kelly had said earlier, you know, the opportunities at heavyweight can come quite quickly and get you into situations. So Gary's not a wee boy, you know, it's what, 27, 28 years of age. So we're about ready to start moving him on. And 3rd of May will be the first in our journey to get him an opportunity for a major title. So that's how we've brought Gary. He's been fine. He's appeared in television in numerous occasions, but because of the way we done it, we could move him in and out, and we didn't lose fact that he'd only 9 amateur fights. But everything that's been put in front of him, he's beaten. So we can ask for no more, and at least we've got an undefeated somebody with a 0. And as long as you've got a 0 at the heavyweight division, you've got an opportunity to step into big situations. So between fights and the proper sparring and training, then we think in the next 18 months to a year, you know, we hope to come to a conclusion on the journey. So I don't know if Gary's got anything he would like to.
Thanks for that. I think you covered it all.
Just throw the open questions.
Kelly, you've enjoyed great success in the United States previously with Lennox Lewis. Would you like to bring your fighters to the United States? And do you think the American public will be as supportive of you personally as the British public?
Well, it's not a matter about being supportive of me, it's a matter of being supportive of the boxers. If I do my job right, the answer is yes. I've had a number of meetings with people I've worked with in the States previously. You know, I've been to the States, I've met with a number, and one of the most encouraging people is Kathy Dover, whose late husband Dan Dover taught me all I knew about heavyweight boxing, and she's offered to work with me. I've had a chat with a couple of other promotional organisations in the United States, and we are in chats at the moment with some, as well as some big European promoters. There seems to be quite a lot of interest to work with myself and with the fighters that I've got. Yeah, our ambition is obviously, you know, to go to the American fight, because that's where, for heavyweights, the big money is, and if we can get there, you know, it's a job well done.
How tough would we feel when we look at fighters as names, seeing as you haven't got the TV exposure?
Sorry?
How tough will it be building the lads as fighters, seeing as you haven't got TV exposure?
Well, if we get the documentary deal done, they will get a lot of exposure. But nowadays, the whole world has changed. There's the internet, there's social there's YouTube. You know, you've got to start looking at different ways now of promoting. I've never been frightened to take on the establishment, and I'm not frightened to do that again. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think these two fighters are going to be under a lot of scrutiny because of the person who's promoting them and working with them, at least for a year. So I think their exposure will generate itself. I mean, look at the press conference here today. I don't think you get this many interviews called a British title fight or a European title fight. So maybe I'll have to think of some other things to do as well.
What sort of reception are you expecting in general from the British boxing public?
Very good. From the whole of the British situation, it's been very good. The public response has been first class. I think it's opened up people's eyes to a gender issue, and I can't say enough about the response I've had in the British public.
Kelly, how nervous were you about taking that step back into boxing?
Very nervous. No, I still am nervous because I know, you know, there's the establishment out there. I've seen some interviews by certain promoters who have been desperate to say something, but they can't say it because of the political correctness situation. But you can tell by the little gleams in their eyes and some of the little snidey remarks that have been made on their interviews that they'd like to say something. But hey, let's get on with it now. I'm very looking forward to the challenge of moving from Nuneaton back up to the Premiership.
Do you think you'll be received any different now to when you were Frank Maloney?
I think a little bit, but the difference that what's not lost is the 30 years knowledge in my head. You know, so I do find you do get treated a little bit different and looked at a little bit different. But I will take all that in my stride.
Kelly, did you speak to Oldley before he retired again?
You know what? I could on my telephone. Audley had sent me a very lovely message last night about coming here, and has offered to help with any knowledge that he could help with Gary. He's willing to help, and I think the message was really nice that he sent me last night, and very much appreciated.
Did you try and get him to, before he retired, to come with you though?
No.
No.
I could only report back coming back to BoxNation, so I met with these two gentlemen.
Kelly, you mentioned the gender issue and the kind of mandatory political correctness these days, which means some people might not hear views which they secretly hold. While this is not my view as I sit before you today, you're right enough to realise that some people still believe that the radical new lifestyle choice is a marketing ploy to relaunch what was formerly an alien career.
Okay. Well, let me say, if the persons who think they want to go through what I believe through, they're welcome to try it. And let them walk in my shoes and see how hard it was. And if it is a marketing ploy, I really need to be locked up in a lunatic asylum.
I certainly don't think that.
No, I should be locked up in a lunatic asylum.
The other British promoters, are they aware that you're coming back, and the ones with television deals, and do you think you'll be able to work with them?
I'm going to work with anybody. I'm going to work for what's the benefit. What's happened now is promoters and managers do not work for the benefit of their fighters. I'm a very old school boxing person, so is Tommy. We are going to work for the benefit of our fighters. If Frank Warren put a deal on the table and it's beneficial, if Eddie Hearn put a deal on the table and it suited us, it's beneficial. If the Sowlands put a deal on the table, if Kathy Duva put a deal on the table, if Tommy and I can bring up a better deal, we're going to do that. We're going to go back to boxing as it traditionally was. We're not here to produce to line promoters' pockets, or you know, a fighter can't become a champion in a quick period. It's a learning period. They must serve an apprenticeship if they're going to become a real world champion.
Have you spoken to any of those gentlemen?
Can I just butt in here? You know, what's got to be made absolutely clear here is I've been over 40 years as a licence holder. None of my fighters has ever been signed to anybody bar me. I've managed them, we've worked with various promoters, and that will not change in the future. Everything that I do, I'll be doing it for Gary and for the other 14 fighters that I manage. You know, we'll work with Kelly, but we will also leave. This isn't a closed shop. This is an exclusive deal with that. Kelly, with the knowledge through the last 20 odd years that he's gathered for the benefit of heavyweights, That's the knowledge that I'm picking into, because we've openly admitted that, you know, I've had 7 world champions, but I've never had anybody that's 6'7" and 18 stone. All my champions came at lightweight, bantamweight, welterweight. If I ever went above that, no, because Scotland don't breed them. We bred small men. So I needed somebody's knowledge that I could tap into, that knew much more about the heavyweight scene than what I did. I know how to manage fighters, know how to manage darts players. You know, you know, in both sides, to manage the world champion darts player, it'd be nice to get the world champion heavyweight. You know, so I've got every ambition still to be a success even at this stage of my career. But I still need a wee bit of help and assistance along the road. But at the end of the day, the decisions, the final decisions will lie with me on behalf of Gary, but we will work very closely with Kelly, because as Frank came in and supported us, put us on the shows at Liverpool Stadium, put us in the shows at Rainton Meadow, and that's why we've done it. But if any other promoter wants to use it, because Gary's also boxed in Frank Warren's shows, you know, and successfully down at the Copper Box. So there's no problem. It's got to be whatever is in the best interest solely of the boxer, not of any of the individuals that sit here with a suit on.
Kelly, boxers are famous for trash talking running up to fights. If you do encounter a boxer, an opponent, one of your fighters who makes an issue of your gender, how will you deal with that? And can I also address that question to the boxers? If you do come up against an opponent...
Until that situation arises, I can't really comment on that. You know, I've been guilty of encouraging boxers to talk trash talk. If it sells a ticket, I might have to do it again. The good thing is we're going to bring a bit of fun back to boxing promotion, because there are no old school boxing promoters out there, and you know, though I look a lot younger now than I did when I was Frank, I do feel that we need a bit of fun out there. You know, there are no good promoters out there no more. They're just TV promoters out there.
I believe one of your former world champions has got his autobiography coming out next week, Paul Ingle, and you've been lending support the last year with the byway right forward, and I believe you're also lending support in the coming weeks as well. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, Paul Ingle's autobiography, I mean, there's a young fighter I took from a very early age, the same age as Tony, straight from the ABAs, and he went on to win the world title. Unfortunately, there was a tragedy towards the end of his career. I'm really pleased to see that his autobiography is coming out, I think it's next week, and there's a benefit night for him on the 15th of May in Scarborough, and I am going to go up there and do a speech on his behalf and for him, because you know, he was a great fighter, Paul, and it was just a tragedy that happened. And that again, that shows you there is no aftercare for boxers. You know, these are things I want to address as well. You know, I think it's time. I didn't want to get political, but I might say it's time the British Boxing Board came into the 21st century and woke up to some new ideas.
Kelly, you just mentioned that there are no old school promoters anymore. You used to be part of the hierarchy, and you've worked with Frank Warren, Gary Hearn and the like. I'd be interested to get your take based on what you just said about Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and the growing monopoly.
I haven't said anything about Eddie Hearns or Matchroom. All I said is there are TV promoters out there now, and they don't develop fighters right. I have not mentioned any individual.
Okay, could you expand on what you think about the way fighters are promoted now then?
Well, I just think fighters are not able to learn their trade. I was taught by the late Mickey Duff. First time I ever met Mickey Duff was actually in this restaurant, and Mike Barrett and Jarvis Astaire. They had a great way of developing the boxers, and you know, I want to sort of do that again. Nowadays, I think fighters are. All I'm going to say is I think fighters are pushed too quick and too soon, because TV calls the shots. The promoters and managers do not call the shots.
Election campaign, and are you confident of success?
This is not I am not a UKIP member. I'm not here as a political person. I'm more interested in boxing promotions. I'm not even sure who I'm going to vote for myself.
Kelly, you said that we're going to bring fun back in the boxing or make boxing more fun. How will we do that?
Just by being myself, by chatting to people, by being honest. and not being so serious and you know, not being dictated to by anybody.
You wouldn't have done that as Frank? You wouldn't
Yeah,
have
I
taken
did. I
that
think
approach,
Frank
would
brought a
you?
lot of fun in boxing promotion. I think he was the funniest promoter out there. He never took himself too serious. And I think, you know, hopefully Kelly will, I will take myself in the right direction and do what's good for boxing. You know, it's a great sport, and I want to see it back on the back pages of newspapers and hopefully back on terrestrial television.
Also, you said this can be a bigger challenge now as a female than it was when Frank. Can you elaborate why?
Yeah, well, it's a very personal thing now. You know, as I said, I gained a lot of respect as Frank. I gained a lot of friends. I gained a lot of enemies. You know, and I was at the very top of the chain when I walked away from it. I'm coming back. No one's opening their arms and doing me any favours. There's no television company knocking on my door saying, "Oh, guess what, Kelly? We'd like to promote your fighters." So that's not. It's a very big challenge and a very personal challenge, because I want to prove I'm capable of doing it, and if I do that, it opens up the door for maybe more females to come into boxing.
I think the great thing here is that Tommy Pratt's coming in to Southern Metals again, and that's the great attraction, that, you know, knowing that there's no television to back his involvement in the game, you know, but to have somebody like that who has obviously got a great love of the sport, and when I was approached for Tommy to get involved in promoting and putting money into the progression of Gary, you know, that's what we need in trying to make sure that we, every time that the boys fight, they fill the halls and hoping to create the situation, but without having to worry too much about the box office drawings, you know, because Tommy's going to come in and help to make that a wee bit easier.
But deals with TV enable you to pay your boxers more.
Oh my, I hear that everything will come, but that I mean, I've already had talks, you know, about the possibility of an Anthony Joshua fight. I mean, we're talking a lot of money here, but it's only worth a lot of money as long as the both of them carry zeros. And that's my job as his manager, to make sure that we move them up and get the proper ranking for them, because yeah, that's these fights. You know, when they're made, then they get made for a lot of money in the television and so forth will get involved.
But Pat, answer your question. There's not a lot of fighters on TV today. You know, it's like a chainsaw. It's a conveyor belt at the moment. If one fight, just say I put Tony on TV now and he got beat. TV say find someone else.
Yes.
They're not getting a chance to develop their career. So what we're doing is, what I'm going to do is develop a career. When they're ready, if you've got the right fighter, you know TV will knock on your door. Don't worry about any contracts they've got with anyone else. If you've got the right fighter, and I've proven that before, they'll come and knock on your door, and you'll get a deal.
I think it boils down to the boxers there, you know, the boxers keep winning, Gary and Tony keep winning, and obviously, you know, Kelly and Tommy get the right fight. Once they win, you know, if Gary boxes Anthony Joshua beats him, for instance, they're going to knock on the door because they don't want to follow Anthony Joshua, they want to follow Gary. And that's what happens if Tony keeps winning, they're going to want to follow Tony. As Kelly just said, it doesn't matter about contracts, it matters about it. Boxers keep winning, keep getting the fight. And Tony gets a British title shot, say 12 months, 18 months down the line and wins it. And they're going to follow British champion, they're not follow British champion.
I mean, look at Audley Harrison. Once he lost, he was just dumped, he became a bit player. You know, if you go through the fighters that have gone on this conveyor belt, there's quite a lot missing, and a lot now being used as opponents, and a lot just being used to make up television cards.
But in Gary's case, it's always been from the very beginning. You only had 9 amateur fights, so there is no point in rushing him. He's got to serve an apprenticeship, and if he can do that apprenticeship away from the glare is going to come from now on, because he's now got to step up to the mark on the 23rd of May. You know, and then as we start, then we're going to find out, can he really fight? The 29 fights, how good a fighter is he? And the we can create the opportunities, then let the cream rise to the top.
Kelly, has your promotional company got a name? What are you calling this?
Kellie Maloney?
Just asking.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Great name, great name.
Just keep it nice and simple. Plus, that's the only thing I could spell, really.
Will your fighters be based in London? Will they train in London, or what, is there like a
No,
headquarters?
well,
Texas,
no,
or-
obviously,
Yeah.
Tommy, we're talking, I mean, I'd like to see Gary go to the States, which we're talking about, to work with, because it's good
Part of the experience.
experience. With Tony, with Brian, they train in the Midlands, but yeah, they will travel around for sparring. You know, I'm not looking to sign a big stable of fighters. I don't want to put myself under the pressure that I was under as Frank Maloney. I'm looking to work with probably no more than 4 or 5 fighters, and that will, because you can't, I don't believe you can look after a massive stable, and I know that through previous experience, because fighters need attention, they are very demanding, and you need to be there for them. You know, it does become a conveyor belt once you start going beyond a certain amount of fighters, and you just, okay, you sit here, do a deal, like, oh, you lost, and they know, you know, you move on to the next one. They're still there somewhere, but they go down the pecking order. It's bad the way they're treated, I think.
Kelly, with what you just said in mind, will there be any further announcements of further fighters in the coming weeks?
No, because I'm not out there looking for fighters. If someone special comes in, I mean, with the help of Tommy Pratt from Suffolk Metals and Neil Sidley, we have sat down and we've talked about actually doing a scholarship for the right fighter. Tommy would love to find a heavyweight to work with. That's why he was interested when I approached him working with Tommy and Gary. But he has said it doesn't necessarily have to be a British heavyweight. It could be a heavyweight from Ghana, it could be a heavyweight from India. And we have sort of got people out there now looking at situations. And if the right fighter comes along, he will be offered a very unique scholarship funded by Suffolk Metals.
Could you explain a little bit more on what the scholarship would entail?
No, we'll keep it till we find the right fighter.
Can we ask Gary and Tony what made Kelly a natural choice for you as a promoter?
Obviously, just listening to what Tommy had to say, and he's proved before that he's got the knowledge when he was Frank, so just have to go along with that.
Yeah, it's the same as me really. I put trust into my trainer Brian, who've been training alongside for nearly 10 years, and he's told me a lot about Frank in the past, and that he'd love the opportunity for me to sign years back, and that's why I've been really pushing for this opportunity. When I found out Kelly wanted to come back into boxing, and I've stopped nagging her since really. That's it. That's the only thing I think of.
And you know, as it's a very personal journey, I know I've got to deliver to these 2 fighters. That's why it is a very personal journey, because I've got to prove myself all over again, and that's really, and that's my motivation. The money, everything else, it's proving myself all over again that I can do it, and that I think that will prolong my life quite a few years. So you lot might have to suffer me for a long time. That's, well, that was a long press conference. Thank you very much.
Yeah.